Hello everyone, this is Professor Pr.El Majdoubi. I teach English language, literature and culture at the Department of English Studies at the Faculty of Letters and Human Sciences of Mohammedia, University of Hassan II, Casablanca. Here, I will be giving you a series of lectures on literary movements. I hope you will enjoy them as much as I do. Thank you very much. Blessed be.
English Studies, Literary Movements, S5, Professor El Majdoubi. Renaissance and Reformation. Literary movements are a means of dividing literature into categories with similar philosophical, aesthetic, or thematic characteristics. Such a classification allows us to juxtapose works that belong to the same period and share intellectual, linguistic, religious, and artistic influences. The study of literary movements allows us to articulate the shared approach and ideas of each epoch. As literature reflects its historical and social context, it is crucial to link a piece of writing to the ideologies of its time. Classroom activities for literary movements include timeline, historical background, philosophies of the period, a work of literature from each movement. A history of European literature. If literature precedes the list below, literary movements began in the early modern period, that is, after the Renaissance. They are as follows: Renaissance 1400s, 1600s. Enlightenment 1650, 1800. Romanticism 1798, 1870. Realism and Naturalism 1850, 1914. Victorian period 1832, 1901. Modernism 1870s, 1965. Postmodernism 1965 up to the present day. Renaissance 14th and 17th centuries. Renaissance means rebirth or revival. This historical period of approximately 300 years was marked by a surge of interest in art, literature, and learning. The Renaissance immediately followed the Middle Ages and served as a bridge between medieval and modern Western Europe. The Renaissance appeared in Italy at the end of the 14th century. It reached its peak in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. This period benefited from political peace and stability, which encouraged explorers to travel in safe conditions. The economy grew and cities expanded. On the cultural level, travel allowed for exchange and change. People thus developed new styles and ways of thinking about the universe. The Renaissance is a transitional period that launched a modern philosophy in favor of the individual and the social order. People were encouraged to question tradition, and the need for evidence became an essential condition for establishing credibility. The Renaissance emphasized reason and experimentation, thereby questioning medieval faith and authority. It focused on secular life, overvalued the individual, and considered life worthwhile for its own sake. Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press in 1440. This invention enabled the mass production of pamphlets and novels throughout Europe. Among the most remarkable figures of the Renaissance were Francesco Petrarch, Giovanni Boccaccio, Niccolo Machiavelli, John Milton, Miguel de Cervantes, Sir Thomas More, William Shakespeare, and Christopher Marlowe. The Renaissance stressed the main themes of humanism, the human genius, classicism, inspiration from antiquity, the ancient Greek and Roman heritage, and secularism, shifting focus from religion toward temporal concerns. The eminent Renaissance humanist Erasmus satirized the excesses of religious power. He would even have paved the way for Martin Luther's Protestant Reformation. The Reformation. The history of European civilization provides an overview of the Western, Greco-Roman, and Judeo-Christian world. The Protestant Reformation is a religious revolt against the authority of the Roman Catholic Church. The English Reformation. Henry VIII came to the English throne in 1509. Henry received a papal dispensation to marry Catherine of Aragon. In 1527, Henry asked the Pope to dissolve his union with Catherine and married Anne Boleyn. The 1534 Act of Supremacy, passed by Parliament, recognized the king as the supreme head of the Church, replacing the Pope. Henry became the head of the newly founded Church of England. Thus, England split from Rome. The video below sheds light on the English Renaissance and the Protestant Reformation. Please take time to view it and then sketch its main ideas. Here is the video link to the English Renaissance, Protestant Reformation. Italy, birthplace of the Renaissance. The Renaissance is a French word meaning rebirth or revival. It refers to the rediscovery of Greco-Roman civilization. The Italian Renaissance is a seminal historical period that marked the transition from the medieval to the modern world. The Italian Renaissance was shaped by the achievements of emblematic figures such as Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. The Italian Renaissance laid the foundations for modern Western values and society. Women played a central role in literature and arts during the Renaissance. In the early Renaissance, Italy consisted of many city-states, such as Florence, Milan, Venice, etc., each with a different form of government. Florence and Venice were the most prominent economic centers of the Italian Renaissance. Florence maintained a thriving industry in the textile trade, mainly wool and silk. Later, it became the most flourishing banking and insurance center. The economy and politics of Renaissance Florence were run by wealthy merchant families. The most famous of these was the Medici family, who sponsored art. The Florentine Republic guaranteed liberty. In Milan, though, the succession of dukes ruled with absolute power. Here is Italy in 1494. Being on the Adriatic Sea, Venice was the most powerful trading center in Europe. It bridged the continent with the Eastern world. Italian city-states built strong bridges with Byzantine and Muslim merchants. Milan was best known for metal goods and armor. Florence excelled in textiles and banking. Venice shone in importing Asian products. Humanism, the most important philosophical movement of the Renaissance, highlights the human agency. While the German philosopher Kant calls the dignity of man as a rational creature. Renaissance artists divinely celebrated the human figure in their paintings. Physical beauty was appreciated, and the body was no longer tainted by original sin, as in medieval representations. Renaissance artists gave their art a naturalistic touch by using science. This scientific naturalism led them to see themselves as intellectuals rather than mere craftsmen. By the end of the 15th century, Italy was plagued by a series of wars. France, Spain, and the Holy Roman Empire battled for Italian territories. These tensions caused instability in the region. The Catholic Church, itself riddled with corruption, began a violent crackdown on dissidents. In 1545, the Council of Trent formally established the Roman Inquisition. The humanist spirit was judged heretical and as such condemned. By the early 17th century, the Renaissance movement declined, giving way to the Age of Enlightenment. Let us practice now. The link below is an educational video on the Italian Renaissance. Please take the time to watch it and then answer the following questions. Question number 1. Summarize the Renaissance and identify the 3 reasons why it started in Italy. Question number 2. What changes in society and cities stimulated the beginning of the European Renaissance? Here is the link to the video titled Outcome: The Renaissance in Italy. The Age of Enlightenment, 1650–1800. As mentioned earlier, the historical and socio-cultural context of literary works is relevant to their analysis. Highlighting the main features of the Enlightenment will open a window into the spirit of the times. The Enlightenment is also known as the Age of Reason or the Neoclassical era. The Enlightenment witnessed significant political, economic, and social changes. This shift led to new practices in education and values throughout Europe. It marked the transition between the modern age and the contemporary age. Europe definitively abandoned religion as the primary way of life and turned its attention to politics, science, and logic. The scientific method challenged the traditional ways of thinking by relying empirically on observation, data, and evidence. Scientificity implies universality. That means that anybody, anywhere, can reiterate the experiment and obtain the same results under the same conditions. Copernicus developed the heliocentric model, which postulated that the Sun was stationary in the center of the universe and that the Earth revolved around it. Copernicus demonstrated that the Earth, along with the other planets, rotated around the Sun. That was grounded in his time. Newton developed the motion theory and published laws of gravity in 1687. Galilei used a telescope to study the sky. Kepler provided mathematical evidence that supported the Copernican heliocentric model. The conflict between science and religion created uncertainty, which gave rise to the desire for certainty through reason. Sir Francis Bacon and René Descartes were the touchstone of the scientific method. Bacon urged people to experiment and then draw conclusions. Descartes argued that people should doubt everything before assuming its truth until reason proves it. Enlightenment thinkers played a crucial role in the human progress induced by the Enlightenment. Amongst them were Mary Wollstonecraft, first feminist in Britain, Thomas Hobbes, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Denis Diderot, Voltaire, Montesquieu, John Locke, and others. Prominent intellectual figures of the Enlightenment were French, mostly men from the nobility. They named themselves philosophers and were skeptical against unverified claims. They questioned the old regime and inspired the French Revolution. Amongst the key ideas debated during this period were reason as the primary source of legitimacy, constitutional government, organized religion, human nature, property, natural laws and rights, and so on and so forth. This period also saw a burgeoning interest in feminism. New ideas about nature and society helped reshape Enlightenment beliefs about gender roles. Enlightenment philosophers rejected the social model based on the authority of faith. Instead, they believed that human reason could build a more prosperous world. Thus they paved the way for the emergence and rise of a new civic order based on rationalism. Science played a leading role in the Enlightenment. Thinkers developed a scientific method based on empiricism that extends to all aspects of human inquiry, including religion and morality. Scientific ideas permeated the thought and discourse of the era. Science served to explain natural phenomena and therefore fuel the spread of empirically based and argumentatively well-founded knowledge throughout Europe. Even religious circles accepted science, at least to a certain extent, as long as it provided the necessary arguments for strengthening the religious sentiment. Isaac Newton, Daniel Fahrenheit, Benjamin Franklin, and Alessandro Volta were among the many scientists and inventors who flourished during the Enlightenment. Their scientific breakthroughs contributed to the Industrial Revolution, which transformed agrarian societies in Europe and America into urban ones. Enlightenment thinkers believed in the constancy of human nature, while arguing that the human condition could improve. Claiming that the universe behaves according to universal and unchanging laws that apply to ethical behavior, they sought moral absolutes. Let us practice now. Watch and summarize the following video. Based on your understanding of the video content, what is the impact of European Enlightenment on America, the New World? View the second video below. What does it add to your knowledge? Compare and contrast the two videos. Please feel free to share your findings with the class. Thank you very much for your attentive listening. Blessed be.